Cale Arden had never believed in destiny. He believed in survival, in moving from one ruined settlement to another, scavenging what he could, and avoiding the alien patrols that haunted the skies. Humanity was a shadow of its former glory, spread thin across distant planets, hunted and crushed by an empire that considered humans weak and primitive. Cale had learned early that hope was a dangerous thing. Hope made people careless, and carelessness got people killed. He crouched in the rubble of an abandoned city on Veridia 9, the wind whipping fine dust through his hair. The buildings were broken skeletons of what they had been 100 years ago. High above, the alien patrols swept in a rhythmic orbit, their glowing sensors cutting through the dim light of the planet's twin suns. Cale stayed low, watching the waves of soldiers moving with mechanical precision, each carrying weapons that could tear through reinforced walls. He had almost nothing to defend himself with, but what he did have was curiosity, and today, curiosity would change everything. While exploring the ruins of the central command tower, Cale noticed a pattern of strange markings etched into the stone floor. The lines were faint, almost erased by time, but they seemed to converge toward one corner of the room. Something compelled him to follow them to see where they led. His boots clicked softly against the cracked tiles, and his hand brushed against the wall as he moved. Dust filled the air, and the smell of old metal and ash made him cough. At the corner, partially buried under debris, Cale saw it. A vessel unlike any he had ever imagined. Its surface gleamed faintly under the dying sunlight, and strange glyphs covered its hull. It was sleek, elegant, and unmistakably human in design, but far more advanced than anything humans had built in living memory. It seemed to hum softly, as if it were alive, breathing beneath its metallic skin. Cale's heart raced. He had heard stories of the Royal Blood Fleet, legends passed down in whispers by survivors. Ancient humans who were said to have commanded ships that could move faster than light, armed with weapons that could wipe out entire alien fleets. These stories were considered myths, fairy tales told to keep hope alive. But now, standing before what looked like one of those fabled ships, Cale felt something shift inside him. He crouched beside the vessel, brushing off layers of dust and debris. The entry hatch was locked, sealed with mechanisms he didn't understand. But as he placed his hand on the cold metal, the glyphs began to glow softly. Lines of light traced the contours of his fingers, and a hum grew louder, resonating inside his chest. It was as if the ship was alive and had been waiting for him. The air around him seemed to thrum with energy. Cale felt a jolt run through his body, not painful but electrifying. The hatch clicked and slowly slid open, revealing a cockpit that was both alien and familiar. Panels glowed with a soft blue light, screens displayed symbols he couldn't read, and strange mechanical arms adjusted themselves in preparation for a pilot. But the strangest part was the feeling. The vessel seemed to recognize him. Cale hesitated. His mind raced with questions. Why him? How could a ship built centuries ago know who he was? He took a deep breath and stepped inside. The cockpit seemed to welcome him, the controls responding to his touch as if they had been waiting for him all along. His hands hovered over the panels, and the glyphs flared brighter, pulsing in rhythm with his heartbeat. Far above, alien sensors picked up the surge of energy. Commander Velira, the alien woman who led the patrols on Veridia 9, narrowed her eyes. She had encountered many humans before, all weak, all predictable. But this energy spike was different, intelligent, precise, and terrifyingly fast. She ordered her ships to descend and investigate, confident that whatever human foolishness had caused it could be destroyed easily. Cale didn't notice the approaching fleet. His mind was consumed with the ship. It guided his hands with uncanny accuracy, displaying sequences and patterns he could not comprehend, yet instinctively knew how to operate. It was as though the ship was teaching him, unlocking abilities he had never known he possessed. When he finally touched the main control panel, a soft voice spoke in his mind, not words, not commands, but recognition. "Welcome, Air." The word echoed through Cale's thoughts, sending a chill down his spine. "Heir of what?" he whispered aloud, though the voice seemed to answer him silently, reverberating in his mind. Memories he did not know he had flashed before him. Images of vast human fleets, great halls filled with people in ceremonial robes, ships blazing through the stars in a time long forgotten. He saw the insignia of the royal blood, symbols of authority and power that had been lost for centuries. And somehow he understood. He was of the royal bloodline, not by accident, not by chance. This vessel, this legacy had chosen him. The hum of the ship grew louder, and the cockpit responded to his thoughts. Cale rose from the seat, feeling a surge of energy flow through him, aligning his body and mind with the ship. Outside, the alien patrols closed in, their sensors piercing the atmosphere. Valira's voice crackled through the comm channel, sharp and commanding. "Human detected. Identify yourself or be destroyed." Cale ignored her. He had no idea how to fight them, not yet, but the ship seemed to anticipate the aliens' every move. Lights shifted along the hull, energy fields crackled into existence, and weapons emerged that had lain dormant for centuries. The aliens, who had thought themselves superior, would soon realize they were facing something far beyond their understanding. The first attack came suddenly. A wave of plasma fire raked the outskirts of the city, but the royal blood vessel responded instantly. Energy shields flared, deflecting the blast with ease, and the ship seemed to twist and pivot as if alive, evading attacks that should have torn it apart. Cale's heart pounded, but fear was replaced by exhilaration. He was in command, and the ship responded to him with loyalty and precision. Alien boarding pods descended, trying to breach the city. Cale didn't know what he was doing, not exactly, but the ship guided his hands. Panels lit up, weapons swiveled, and beams of concentrated energy cut through the approaching soldiers. They were fast, trained, and ruthless, but nothing could match the coordination between him and the vessel. Each move felt instinctive, each strike perfect. The aliens were bewildered, unable to comprehend how a single human could control such power. Valira's frustration grew. She had fought countless humans, all predictable, all weak. But this one, this human, moved with the precision of a fleet commander and the intuition of someone who had trained with the very essence of the ship. "Impossible," she muttered, her fingers tightening around the control levers. "No human should be able to do that." Cale didn't wait for her to understand. He maneuvered the ship through the ruins, using the terrain as cover while unleashing bursts of energy to repel the aliens. The city itself seemed to respond to him, the ship scanning the structures and finding paths through crumbled walls, turning ruins into defensive advantages. The alien soldiers who boarded were repelled at every turn, disoriented and panicked. Amid the chaos, Cale felt a strange connection to the ship and for the first time in his life to something greater than himself. It wasn't just survival anymore. He understood that humanity's legacy, the things the aliens had tried to erase, was alive through him. Every movement, every action was proof that humans could rise above oppression, that they could reclaim what had been lost. Hours seemed to pass like minutes. Cale moved through the city with precision and control, learning, growing, and asserting dominance in a way he had never imagined possible. The aliens began to retreat, unwilling to face a vessel they could not comprehend. Valira, grim and furious, called off her immediate forces, but she would not forget this human. The spark she saw in him was dangerous, one that could ignite a rebellion across the galaxy if left unchecked. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Cale finally stepped back from the controls, exhausted but exhilarated. The city was quiet again, save for the hum of the vessel beneath him. He looked out across the ruined streets, feeling something he had thought impossible: hope. For the first time, he felt that humanity had a chance. The vessel's AI whispered once more, gentle and affirming, "This is only the beginning, heir. Greater trials await. Greater victories are yours to claim." Cale swallowed hard, knowing it was true. He had survived, yes, but he had also awakened a power long forgotten. The aliens might think they had the upper hand, but they had underestimated humans, underestimated him. And now, with the royal blood vessel under his command, the galaxy itself would bear witness to the resurgence of humanity. For Cale, the discovery of the ship was not just a stroke of luck. It was destiny calling, and he could not ignore it. He had taken the first step in a journey that would challenge the very foundations of the alien empire, a journey that would test his courage, his intelligence, and his resolve. But for now, as the twin suns set and bathed the world in crimson light, Cale allowed himself a rare smile. Humanity was not finished, not yet, and he, a simple scavenger turned heir, was ready to lead the way. The royal blood vessel thrummed beneath him, alive and patient, waiting for the battles to come. And Cale, for the first time, felt that he was exactly where he was meant to be. Cale Arden had never felt such power before. The royal blood vessel responded to him as if it were part of his body. Every command he gave, every movement he made, the ship mirrored perfectly, defending him, guiding him, even anticipating dangers before he noticed them. For the first time, Kale realized he was no longer just a survivor. He was a force that could shape the course of humanity's future. But with power came responsibility, and the universe was not kind to those who wielded it. Commander Velira, the alien woman who led the invaders, had returned to her command ship, furious and shaken. She studied the reports of the royal blood vessel, unable to comprehend how a single human could control it with such precision. Her soldiers had seen the ship move almost like a living being, predicting every attack, outmaneuvering every assault. She had fought countless species across the stars, all of them clever, all of them dangerous, but never had she seen anything like this. "Impossible," she whispered, watching the energy reading spike again. "No human should have such control." Back on Viridia 9, Kale remained unaware of how closely the alien commander tracked him. He focused on learning the vessel's systems, exploring its hidden capabilities. Panels and displays lit up at his touch, revealing sections of the ship he had not yet discovered. Storage compartments with weapons long forgotten, navigation systems capable of plotting courses through the galaxy in moments, and communication arrays that could broadcast messages. Across light years, he activated a weapon system for the first time. The ship's cannons glowed with blue energy, charging in silent readiness. Kale hesitated, feeling the weight of responsibility. He had no desire to kill, but if the aliens came back, he would have to fight. He closed his eyes and imagined a defensive strike, and the ship responded. Beams of energy lanced into the sky, cutting through the clouds and leaving trails of light in their wake. It was breathtaking, almost beautiful. Then the warning alarms blared. Alien patrols were returning, larger than before. Kale's pulse quickened. The first wave had tested him. This wave wanted to destroy him. The vessel hummed beneath him, calm yet powerful, as if it were saying, "We are ready. Are you?" Kale gritted his teeth and steered the ship toward the incoming threat. The aliens descended like a storm, their ship sleek and deadly, bristling with weapons. Velira's voice came over a distant comm signal, cold and commanding. "Human," she said, her tone sharp, "surrender the vessel. You cannot hope to resist the Empire." Kale's fingers tightened around the controls. "I'm not surrendering anything," he replied aloud, though he doubted she could hear him across the vastness of space. He took a deep breath and activated the ship's defensive shields. A field of shimmering energy expanded outward, deflecting the first volley of alien fire. Beams bounced harmlessly off the shields, sparks flaring as the ship's systems absorbed the attacks. The alien ships pressed closer. Kale had no plan beyond simple defense, but the vessel seemed to anticipate his thoughts. It tilted, rotated, and shifted through the ruins with fluid precision. Alien missiles exploded against the energy shields, yet the ship moved through them as though they were nothing more than obstacles in a dance. As the first wave of alien soldiers attempted to board the vessel, Kale discovered another secret. Hidden compartments opened, releasing drones that moved like extensions of the ship itself. They intercepted the boarding pods, disabling them without harming the human soldiers inside. Kale realized the vessel was designed not just for combat, but for protection, for preserving life. The aliens had underestimated the humanity it carried within. The boarding teams screamed in frustration, unable to breach the defenses. Velira growled in disbelief. She had expected humans to flee or surrender, yet here was one controlling a weapon she had thought impossible to dominate. The human moved with strategy, precision, and instinct, as though he had been trained for centuries. Kale felt a strange calm amidst the chaos. He was learning, adapting, and understanding the ship in ways he had never imagined. The AI whispered guidance, but more than guidance, it encouraged him to trust himself. "You are the heir," it said. "You are the hope that will lead your people forward." The battle raged on for hours. Kale wove the vessel through crumbled city streets and shattered towers, using the environment to his advantage. Alien soldiers tried to predict his moves, but the ship anticipated their every maneuver. Missiles missed, beams deflected, and boarding teams found themselves trapped or thrown back. Kale's heart raced, but he felt more alive than ever. Humanity's strength was not in numbers, but in ingenuity, courage, and determination. Amid the fighting, Kale discovered a way to communicate with the scattered human survivors. He broadcast a signal using the ship's advanced arrays, a simple message: "Follow me. We can fight back." Across the city and the planet, humans picked up the transmission. For the first time in decades, they felt a spark of hope. Some were cautious, unsure if the signal was a trap, but many rallied, following the beacon toward the royal blood vessel. Velira's frustration grew with every passing moment. She had underestimated humans, yes, but she had also underestimated the bond between this human and the ship. It was not merely control, it was symbiosis. Kale was not the master of the vessel, he was its partner, its extension, and together they had become something unstoppable. The aliens launched a final assault, deploying larger ships with heavier weapons. Kale felt the weight of the universe pressing down on him, yet he did not panic. He remembered the teachings of the ship, the subtle nudges, the patterns it revealed. He guided the vessel into the heart of the attack, dodging beams and missiles while firing precise countermeasures. Alien ships exploded in bright bursts, their formations collapsing under the unexpected precision of a single human pilot. Then came the moment that changed everything. One of Velira's command ships attempted a direct boarding maneuver, aiming to capture Kale and the vessel. Kale focused, his hands moving with instinctive precision. Hidden weapons activated, energy shields flared, and mechanical arms extended from the hull, intercepting the boarding pod. The pod was destroyed, leaving the alien soldiers scrambling and stunned. Velira's voice was tight with rage. "Impossible. How can one human defeat my fleet?" Kale didn't answer. He couldn't. He was too focused. The city around him was quiet now, the alien forces scattered or retreating. The humans he had reached began emerging from hiding, looking up at the royal blood vessel with awe. Kale saw their eyes, filled with fear and hope, and for the first time he realized what his actions meant. He was not just defending himself, he was defending humanity itself. He guided the vessel to hover above the human survivors, the energy shields flaring as he protected them from the remaining alien fire. The humans cheered, their voices raw with emotion. They had seen their power, their potential, in one human who dared to take command of a lost legacy. Kale felt a surge of pride and responsibility. This was bigger than him, it was bigger than the vessel. It was humanity reclaiming its destiny. As the sun set, casting long shadows across the ruined city, Kale allowed himself a moment to breathe. The royal blood vessel thrummed beneath him, alive and patient, ready for whatever challenges lay ahead. He had survived the first major attack, learned the ship's capabilities, and inspired a scattered population of humans to believe again. Yet Kale knew this was only the beginning. Velira would not give up. The alien empire would return, stronger, smarter, and more determined to crush humanity completely. But Kale had learned something crucial. The royal blood vessel was more than a weapon. It was a symbol, a reminder that humanity's legacy was not lost. It was alive in him, waiting to guide others, to lead them to victory. He looked out at the horizon, the faint glow of alien ships retreating into the distance. The royal blood vessel pulsed with energy, its systems responsive to his thoughts, its AI whispering promises of strength and guidance. Kale felt a strange certainty settle over him. He was ready to face whatever came next. Humans had survived countless attacks, countless attempts to erase them. They had endured because they adapted, because they persevered. And now, with the royal blood vessel and Kale as their heir, they had the chance to rise again, not as prey, but as a force that could shape the stars themselves. The first step had been taken. Kale Arden had awakened the royal blood vessel, defended his people, and survived an encounter that should have destroyed him. The aliens would return. The galaxy would challenge him in ways he could not yet imagine. But Kale no longer feared the unknown. He had power, he had hope, and he had humanity behind him. Above all, he had learned the most important lesson of all. No empire, no matter how vast or powerful, could extinguish the spark of human courage and ingenuity. And with that knowledge, Kale prepared for the battles to come, knowing that he was not just a survivor. He was the beginning of humanity's resurgence, the first step in reclaiming a future that had been stolen, and the force that would make the aliens and the galaxy truly take notice. Kale Arden had begun to understand the full scope of the power he now commanded. The royal blood vessel was no ordinary ship. It was a living legacy of humanity, centuries in the making, designed to protect and to lead. Yet Kale knew that controlling it was only the first step. The alien forces led by Commander Velira would not retreat forever. They would return, stronger and more determined. Humanity could no longer hide. It was time to strike back. The humans who had responded to his broadcast were beginning to gather in the ruins around the city. They were ragged, worn by years of oppression and fear, but their eyes carried a spark of hope Kale had not seen in decades. He landed the vessel carefully among them, the hum of its energy soothing yet commanding. They approached cautiously, unsure if this was a trap, yet drawn to the confidence radiating from the ship and its pilot. Kale stepped down, his boots crunching against the dust and rubble. The survivors stared at him, some in awe, others in disbelief. They had heard stories of the Royal Blood Fleet, but these had been considered myths, tales to make children sleep at night. Now, standing before them was proof that humanity's legacy was real, and that it had chosen one of their own to lead. "We don't have much time," Kale said, his voice steady and firm. "They will return, but we can fight, we can survive, and we can show them that humans are not to be underestimated." The humans exchanged nervous glances, but Kale's words ignited something inside them. Courage. Hope, determination. Slowly, they began to organize, gathering weapons, repairing old vehicles, and scavenging what little technology remained. Kale taught them how to coordinate with the Royal Blood vessel, showing them that intelligence and strategy could compensate for their smaller numbers. Meanwhile, Commander Velira had returned to her command ship, fuming. She had witnessed a single human outmaneuver her elite soldiers, control a weapon centuries beyond their understanding, and inspire a scattered population to rally behind him. Her frustration was palpable. "This human, he is no ordinary opponent," she growled to her lieutenants. "He is dangerous. We underestimated him, and it was a mistake we will not repeat." Velira's new plan was simple but deadly. She would deploy her full fleet to surround the city, cutting off any escape and forcing Kale into a trap. Yet Kale was no longer unprepared. He had studied the alien patrols, learned their patterns, and anticipated their tactics. The Royal Blood vessel was his ally, guiding him in ways that went beyond instinct. He knew where the aliens would strike and how they would approach. The first wave of the new assault arrived under the cover of darkness, their ships weaving through the ruined skyline. Kale and the humans waited in silence, the city eerily calm despite the threat overhead. Then, without warning, the Royal Blood vessel surged into action. Energy shields flared, and beams of light cut through the night, intercepting the alien attack with precision. The humans watched in awe as their protector moved like a force of nature, unpredictable yet controlled. The aliens were stunned. Their calculations, their predictions, all failed. Kale's movements were flawless, coordinated perfectly with the vessel's AI. Boarding teams attempted to deploy, only to be met with countermeasures that disabled them instantly. The humans, emboldened by the display, joined in, using guerrilla tactics to strike from hidden positions, sabotaging the alien landing pods and taking advantage of the chaos Kale created. Amid the battle, Kale discovered another hidden feature of the ship. Its communication system allowed him to connect directly with each human under his command, coordinating movements in real time, anticipating needs, and adapting strategy on the fly. It was not just a weapon, it was a force multiplier, allowing a small band of survivors to stand against a fleet designed to dominate entire planets. Commander Velira's frustration boiled over. She could not understand how a single human could anticipate every move, control a vessel of unimaginable power, and rally a population to resist an empire. "Impossible," she muttered, her eyes narrowing. "No species should have such instinct and coordination." Kale, sensing the alien commander's presence through the ship's sensors, made a bold decision. He would not wait for them to strike again. Using the vessel's advanced propulsion systems, he led a daring raid on the alien supply lines. The humans followed his lead, navigating the ruins with precision, attacking enemy resources, and disrupting communications. Every success fueled their confidence, every victory proving that humanity could fight back. The humans began to see Kale not just as a leader, but as a symbol. He represented what they could achieve when they worked together, when they trusted in their ingenuity and courage. Stories of his bravery spread among the scattered survivors, and more joined the movement, inspired to reclaim their world. The Royal Blood vessel became a beacon, a sign that humans were no longer prey. They were fighters, strategists, and heroes in their own right. Valira was forced to act decisively. She launched a massive assault, bringing her entire fleet into the city's orbit. The humans were outnumbered, outgunned, but Kale remained calm. He had learned that the vessel's true power was not in brute force, but in intelligence, precision, and timing. He guided the humans to create traps, using the terrain and the ship's capabilities to their advantage. Alien ships were drawn into ambushes, their numbers nullified by clever strategy rather than sheer strength. The battle reached its climax above the city. Kale maneuvered the vessel with unparalleled skill, dodging massive energy blasts while directing the human forces below. Alien boarding pods were intercepted before they could reach the ground, and the city itself became a maze of defense, where humans struck from shadows, behind walls, and across rooftops. Each strike, each maneuver was coordinated perfectly with the royal blood vessel systems. Valira, growing desperate, attempted to breach Kale's mind through advanced alien sensors, trying to predict his moves and force him into mistakes. But Kale's connection with the vessel was stronger than she anticipated. The ship enhanced his perception, his reflexes, and his ability to anticipate threats. For every tactic she deployed, Kale had already planned a counter. The alien commander's attacks faltered, and her fleet began to suffer losses. Finally, Kale executed a decisive maneuver. Using the vessel's propulsion systems, he created a controlled shockwave, disorienting the alien fleet and scattering their formations. The humans followed his lead, striking with precision and overwhelming confidence. Alien ships were forced to retreat, their command structure disrupted, and Valira had no choice but to withdraw to preserve her remaining forces. The city was battered but alive. The humans cheered, their voices carrying through the ruins, a sound Kale had almost forgotten existed. They had survived. They had fought back. And for the first time, they had hoped that they could reclaim their world and resist the alien empire. Kale allowed himself a moment to breathe, surveying the city from the cockpit of the royal blood vessel. He had learned more than strategy today. He had learned the value of inspiration. One human, one leader, could ignite the courage of thousands. One act of defiance could change the course of history. And one legacy, forgotten for centuries, could rise again to lead a species from the brink of extinction. Valira's retreating fleet became a symbol of the battle's outcome. She would return, undoubtedly, stronger and with new tactics. But she had also learned to respect the human spirit, to understand that underestimation was humanity's greatest mistake. Kale had not only survived, he had demonstrated that humans were capable of intelligence, courage, and strategy that could rival even the most advanced alien species. Kale stepped out of the vessel, feeling the eyes of the survivors upon him. He was tired, yes, but stronger. The royal blood vessel hummed softly, as if acknowledging his growth and guiding him toward the next steps. The humans around him looked to him not just as a pilot or a fighter, but as a leader, someone who could rally them, teach them, and help them reclaim their destiny. In the following days, Kale worked tirelessly with the survivors, organizing defenses, training fighters, and repairing old human technology. He shared knowledge from the vessel, teaching humans to coordinate, plan, and act with intelligence rather than relying on brute force. The humans adapted quickly, their confidence growing as they saw tangible results. Small victories, skirmishes that would have been impossible before, now became signs of a new beginning. Kale knew the war was far from over. Valira would return, and the alien empire would bring more fleets, more weapons, more strategies designed to crush humanity. But Kale had learned something critical. Humans did not need to match the aliens in raw power. They needed to be clever, united, and courageous. They needed to fight with heart and mind, and to believe that the spark of humanity could never be extinguished. As night fell over the city, Kale looked up at the stars. The royal blood vessel pulsed with quiet energy, a reminder that humanity's legacy was alive and that its power had chosen him for a reason. He allowed himself a small smile. The battle had been won, but the war was just beginning. The galaxy would soon know that humanity had returned, not as prey, but as a force to be reckoned with. And Kale Arden, a simple scavenger who had discovered an ancient ship, was ready to lead them. The royal blood vessel was more than a weapon. It was a symbol of hope, a guide for humanity, and a promise that even in the darkest times, humans could rise, fight, and prevail. He had won today, yes, but tomorrow the real challenges would begin. And he, along with the humans who now believed in him, would be ready. For Kale had learned the most important truth of all. When humans take control of their destiny, no force in the galaxy can stop them. Kale Arden knew that victory on Veridia 9 was only the beginning. The humans had survived, inspired by his leadership, but the alien empire had not forgotten. Commander Velira would return with greater force, more advanced strategies, and a determination fueled by humiliation. The galaxy was vast, but Kale understood one truth. If humanity was to survive, they had to strike at the heart of the enemy. He stood on the bridge of the royal blood vessel, the ship alive beneath his hands. The energy thrummed like a heartbeat, resonating with his own. Around him, the scattered human fleet gathered, small, ragged, and outnumbered, but united by courage and purpose. Kale surveyed the stars, plotting their course toward the alien empire's command systems. The plan was risky, nearly impossible, but it was their only chance to turn the tide of the war. "Everyone ready?" Kale asked. His voice was calm, though his mind raced with calculations. The humans nodded. They trusted him, and more importantly, they believed in the vessel. Kale had shown them that intelligence, strategy, and courage could overcome sheer numbers. Now they would put that lesson into practice on a galactic scale. The journey through space was tense. The alien sensors were everywhere, patrolling borders and scanning for intruders. Kale used the vessel's advanced cloaking systems, weaving through asteroid fields and cosmic anomalies to avoid detection. The humans moved with him in perfect coordination, their ships responding to his commands as if guided by a single mind. For hours, days, even the silence of space pressed upon them, broken only by the hum of the royal blood vessel. Finally, they reached the outskirts of the alien empire. Massive warships loomed in orbit around an industrial world, weapons bristling, sensors scanning the void. Kale's stomach tightened. The scale of the enemy force was daunting, far beyond anything they had faced before, but he remembered the lessons of Veridia 9. Strategy could overcome size, precision could overcome brute force, courage could inspire victory. He addressed the fleet one last time. "This is it. We are outnumbered, yes, but not outmatched. We fight not just to survive, but to show them what humanity is capable of. Follow me, and we take the fight to them." The humans cheered, their voices filled with determination. They moved into position, surrounding the perimeter of the alien fleet in a coordinated formation. Kale activated the royal blood vessel's full systems, sending pulses of energy to disrupt alien sensors and communications. The enemy warships faltered, unable to predict the movements of a human-led fleet guided by a ship beyond comprehension. Velira appeared on the sensors, her command ship at the forefront. Her face was stern, her eyes burning with fury. "You dare enter my space? You dare defy the Empire?" she demanded, her voice amplified across the void. Kale replied simply, "We dare to survive." The battle began with sudden intensity. Alien warships fired beams of energy, attempting to break the human formation, but Kale anticipated each strike. The royal blood vessel twisted through space, deflecting blasts, disrupting communications, and targeting weak points in the enemy fleet. Human ships moved like extensions of the vessel itself, striking with precision, sabotaging alien weapons, and creating chaos in formations that were supposed to be invincible. The alien soldiers were skilled, trained for centuries to dominate the galaxy, but Kale's fleet moved unpredictably, exploiting every weakness. Boarding pods attempted to breach the human ships, but automated defenses and clever maneuvers repelled them. Kale realized that the true power of the royal blood vessel was not just its weapons, but its ability to enhance human capability, to make a small group capable of overwhelming an empire's might. Velira grew desperate. She tried to predict Kale's moves, deploying massive fleets to cut off escape routes, using gravity traps and energy nets. Yet Kale adapted instantly. The ship guided him to use the very anomalies of space against the enemy, turning their weapons back on them, creating confusion and disorder. Alien ships collided, their formations crumbling under the coordinated attacks of humans led by a single vessel. Kale could feel the exhilaration of the battle, but he stayed focused. Every decision mattered. One mistake could destroy the fleet, or worse, allow Velira to strike at the heart of the human forces. But the humans trusted him, and the royal blood vessel trusted him. Together, they were unstoppable. Hours passed in a blur of energy blasts, maneuvering, and strategic strikes. Kale realized that the alien fleet had underestimated the human ability to learn, adapt, and cooperate. They had thought themselves superior, yet they had not counted on the ingenuity of a species that refused to yield. Then came the decisive moment. Velira's flagship moved to concentrate fire on the royal blood vessel, intending to destroy Kale and shatter human morale. Kale acted instantly. Using the ship's advanced propulsion systems, he executed a maneuver that few could imagine, diving through the enemy formation, using their own weapons as shields to protect the human fleet. The flagship was surrounded, energy beams redirected, and in a coordinated strike, the humans disabled its weapon systems. Velira's voice came across the comm, tight with rage. How is this possible? Kale did not answer. He focused on the next move, guiding the royal blood vessel and the human fleet to strike at the core of the alien command system. Communications arrays, energy generators, and control hubs fell one by one, disabled by coordinated attacks. The alien empire's defenses, once thought impenetrable, began to collapse. The humans pressed forward with unrelenting courage. Every strike was calculated, every maneuver precise. Kale watched as the alien ships faltered, retreating or surrendering under the pressure of a force they had never expected. Humanity, once scattered and hunted, had found its strength in leadership, strategy, and unity. Finally, the alien command network was crippled. Velira had no choice but to retreat with the remnants of her fleet. Kale did not pursue her immediately. He knew that true victory required not just defeating an enemy, but securing a future for humanity. He ordered the humans to consolidate, repair, and reorganize, ensuring that they could defend themselves against any counterattack. The humans cheered, their voices echoing across the void. They had done what seemed impossible. They had fought an empire and survived. They had seen the power of their own ingenuity and courage, guided by a leader who had awakened a forgotten legacy. Kale stepped onto the deck of the royal blood vessel, feeling the hum of its energy beneath him. The ship had been waiting for centuries, dormant but alive, ready for a human who could understand its power. And now it had chosen him. He looked at the humans surrounding him. Their faces were worn, tired from battle, but shining with hope and determination. They had seen the impossible and realized it could be done. Humanity was not weak. Humanity was not defeated. Humanity was capable of greatness beyond measure. Kale knew there would be challenges ahead. Velira and the alien empire would return, likely stronger and more cunning. But for the first time in generations, humans were not hiding. They were standing tall, ready to claim their place in the galaxy. The royal blood vessel would be their symbol, their guide, and their weapon. It would remind all who opposed them that humanity could endure, adapt, and triumph. The vessel's AI whispered to Kale, gentle and affirming. "You have proven yourself, heir. The galaxy will remember this day. Greater trials await, but you are ready." Kale smiled. "Then let them come," he replied. "We will be ready." As the human fleet regrouped, Kale realized something even more profound. Victory was not just about defeating the enemy, it was about inspiring the humans to believe in themselves. The scattered survivors of Veridia 9 were now a force that could not be ignored. They had seen their own strength reflected in Kale and the royal blood vessel. They had learned that courage, intelligence, and unity could overcome even the most insurmountable odds. For the first time in centuries, humanity had hope. And hope, Kale knew, was a weapon more powerful than any fleet or weapon system. It was the spark that could ignite a species, drive it forward, and allow it to reclaim its place among the stars. Kale looked at the horizon of space, the stars stretching endlessly before him. Somewhere out there, the alien empire was planning its next move. But humanity had awakened. It had a leader, a symbol, and a future worth fighting for. And Kale Arden, once a scavenger and survivor, had become the heir of the royal blood, the protector of humanity, and the force that would guide them through the trials ahead. The royal blood vessel pulsed beneath him, alive with energy and purpose. Kale placed his hands on the controls, feeling the bond between himself and the ship deepen. The galaxy was vast, the challenges immense, but for the first time, Kale felt certain of one thing: humans would not just survive, they would rise. And as the stars stretched endlessly before him, he knew that this was only the beginning. Humanity's resurgence had begun, led by courage, guided by legacy, and inspired by the indomitable spirit that no empire, no matter how powerful, could ever extinguish. Kale took a deep breath, and with a determined smile he whispered to the vessel, Let's show them what humans can do. The royal blood vessel hummed in response, a soft, powerful echo that promised a future full of challenges, triumphs, and victories. Together, Kale and humanity were ready to face the galaxy and to claim their place among the stars. The war was far from over, but humanity had found its voice, its courage, and its strength. And with Kale ardent at the helm of the royal blood vessel, nothing, not even the mightiest empire in the galaxy, could stop them. The stars themselves seemed to pulse with anticipation as the human fleet moved forward, guided by Kale and the legacy of the royal blood. A new era had begun, one where humanity would no longer be prey, no longer be forgotten, and no longer be denied its destiny among the cosmos. For Kale, for the humans who followed him, and for the countless generations that would come, this was their moment, their chance to rise, to fight, and to triumph. And rise they did as the galaxy watched in awe.